Here I'm going to show you how to make scrollable data sections within your worksheet, and they work like this. We have a little scroll bar here, we click it, and we can cycle through all of our data. We can copy and paste it, we can see it. If we change it in the source data, it's going to update here, and it looks pretty darn nice. This is perfect, by the way, for dashboard setups or anywhere where you want to have something like this that you can scroll through, but it doesn't affect any of the rows or columns. You're not scrolling through or moving this worksheet. And before we get into the tutorial, if you are interested in automating Excel, making it easier to use, saving yourself a lot of time every single week, you must learn VBA and macros. And I have a full course on that that'll take you from beginner to intermediate all the way to advanced level. And I've got a link to it below this video, so give it a look. Now let's go ahead and make this guy. It combines a couple different features. It's not too difficult. Let's first get back our grid lines, make it look a little more like Excel, and let's get some of the default template data, and we're going to build it right over here. So this part is just text, nothing else, and we're going to make one little thing. Let's put it maybe right here or right here, and we're going to call it control value. We will change its location in a moment anyway, so it doesn't matter. And let's make that yellow. It is a very important cell. And now let's talk about the concept. Let's take a look at this over here. This is just a series of formulas, nothing more. And then we combine that with a form control, this guy right here, to change values in that formula, a particular value, the control value, to change what it displays. The actual data for this is on the data tab, and there's no magic here. It's just straight up basic data input into the cells. And we're using formulas to say, hey, I want you to display this, but then if we change the value, we go down by one more cell, display that, and then we keep on doing it. And so the scroll effect is really just changing a control value that changes what the index function displays from here. And note that our data set is 11 rows high. That's something that we're going to use in a little calculation in a moment. So the next thing is to build our formula. And first I'm going to put 1 in here for control value. This is going to say, hey, give me the first view of data. And then we can change it to 2. Give me the second view of the data. So move down 1 row. That's how this is going to work. And I'll explain how we actually get it to change in a moment. But the formulas, let's zoom in. It's going to be an index function. And we're going to use that instead of offset because offset is volatile, which means if you have a lot of them, it can really slow things down. So for our index function, we have an array. It's the data that we want to display. And here we want the part data. So we go over here, and we can select all of this. And we want to put $signs in front of the columns. You could cycle through that with F4, the keyboard shortcut, to get the $signs there, or just type them in. Then we can go to the end, comma, to go to the very next argument. Do that before you go back to the other tab. Then we go to the dashboard tab, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We don't need the dashboard reference. It's going to be on the same worksheet. What we need now is the row number. So where do we want to get the data from? And this is what's going to be dynamic. So we use the control value. Do we want it from row 1, row 2, row 3? Where do we want it from? So we're going to hit F4 to put $signs in front of that so it will not change. And now we're done if we just want 1 row. But we want to display a few rows at once. So this row right up here is the very first row in our data set. And by default, it should display row 1. And the control value is going to give it that, 1. But for the next row, the default value for that should be 2, because it should display the next row in our data set. So how do we do that? We could hard code everything here. So we could just leave this like this, close it up, and then we could go and copy it and go +1. So it returns the next value, but we can also do it in a dynamic way. And it's a little bit confusing, the dynamic way. So what we need is for the first row, it must equal 0, because we don't need to offset it. We have the correct value here. Then the next row should be 1, so +1 for our offset value. Then 2, then 3, then 4. Is there an easy way to do that? Yes, there is. We use the row function. We set it to A1 for row 1. That's going to return 1. And when we move it down to the next row, it's going to return A2. The row for A2 is 2, so that gives us our offset. However, we are 1 high. We are 1 too high, right? We don't need to add 1 to the first entry. So we subtract 1. All we're doing here is to create an offset that allows us to copy our formula down and get all the values that we want very easily. Now we are good with our formula. We can hit enter and we can copy this guy to the right. A18, 318, let's make sure that's correct. Perfect. And we can copy it down as much as we want. And now let's go ahead and add some formatting to this guy. We want to center those. There we go. And let's add, there we go. And now what we have to do, or actually before that, let's check it out. So we're on 1. Let's go to 2. We've scrolled down. 3. We've scrolled down. 4. We've scrolled down. It's such a cool little feature. Just a few simple tricks combined together. And now we need a way to control the control value. And that's where this guy comes in handy, the nice visual element. So we need the developer tab. If you don't have it, or right click, go to customize the ribbon and put a check mark next to developer over here. Then OK. Then developer, insert, and scroll bar. And we can draw a little scroll bar right here. Now right click the scroll bar, go to Format Control, and for the current value, let's set that at 1. For the minimum value at 1, these are the numbers that the scroll bar will generate and how it will generate them, and the minimum value it can generate and the maximum value that it can generate. So when we click up and down, we're actually changing a hidden value that will here start at 1 and go up to whatever we set as the maximum value, and then change by this amount every time you click an arrow, up 1 or down 1. And that's how we control the control value. So we can click cell link and the control value cell, and then we can go ahead and finish up here. So we have minimum and current 1, 1. For maximum, what do you want here? So this is an interesting thing. What we want here is, remember I said think about the total number of rows, or remember it? It's 11. So we take the total number, 11. We subtract the total number here. 11 minus 6 is 5. And then we add 1. And that's the maximum value that this can be. So the maximum value is 6. Because once we hit 6, we're at the end of our list. If we go to 7, we are below our list. So right click this guy, Format Control, maximum value 6. We want it to change by 1 every time we hit the up or down arrow, and page change is how much it's going to change when you click here between the arrow and the little scroll box guy right here. And since 6 is our max, let's set this guy to 2. Make sure you have the cell link. OK. Click away, and you are good to go. Now we have a little scrollable section. And look at the control value when we change it. It is really that simple. I love how easy this feature is. It's so great. So the last thing that we're going to do to make it look a little bit better is we're going to take the control value and we're going to hide it right here. And then it will be out of the way. So cell link, is going to be, let's remove that. How about right here? Enter, enter, and let us take this guy right here and move it right there. And we will copy it over, copy it down, and then have to redo the formatting, of course. And let's make this a little smaller. And let's grab this guy and try to make it look a little bit nicer. Like this. Maybe a little smaller. Like this. And let's copy that formatting. And we are almost done. All right, the last thing is the nice little border. Insert, illustrations, shapes, rounded rectangle. The rounded rectangle is your friend for making things look much nicer. Then we go to this little orange guy. Make the borders like that. Move it up a little bit, to the left a little bit. Go to shape format, shape fill, no fill, shape outline, weight, and let's make it nice and fat. And zoom in a little bit so it's easier to deal with. And we want to go like this and this. Click away, view, no grid lines, back up. And let's get this annoying formatting back. There you go. A nice little scrollable section. And this is no longer needed down here. It's not used at all. We can go ahead and delete it. Everything is contained right here and on the data worksheet. How nice is that? And that's how you make scrollable data sections within worksheets in Excel. And if you want to automate Excel, if you want to make it even more usable, remember to check out my full VBA course. That's going to save you hours of time every week by allowing you to automate pretty much everything that you're going to do in Excel. Check the link to my course below this video, and let's get started learning.